creepy show, creepy program. I found a rat. It was on my apartment. Yeah, tricky business. Recognizing, assuming I have rats, but maybe definitely there's one rat left now. Creepy show. So I will call this rat Volodymyr Zelensky. Oh. Over there, I will call that rat over there Volodymyr Zelensky. Is our first guess. I'm not absolutely comfortable with this rat over there, but it's what we have today. I will change a little bit the approach, the camera angle. You know, honestly, I think this rat will be great for my friend the hawk. I've showed this rat to my dogs. The dogs didn't like it. It's time to see what Milou think about this rat. Milou didn't like it. That's a rat, Milou, a rat. I killed it by myself. So I will let the rat in some place like that to feed my hawk, my hawk friend. Milou didn't like it. So here we are doing the show with our friend Volodymyr Zelensky. I just make sure the rat is there. Yeah, the rat is definitely there. No, I don't like rats, but this is just semiotics, you know. Here we are. We got Volodymyr Zelensky over there. Volodymyr Zelensky, guys. Here we are. There it is, Volodymyr Zelensky. It's not that bad, you know, it's kind of beautiful. It's like a potato. Anyway, so let's read some news from what's going on in the Kriplet, Syria. Kriplet, Syria. I guess the fur is not that bad, you know, the color is beautiful, I guess. White and brown. Anyway, Israel to create sterile zone in southern Syria. Let's see if Volodymyr Zelensky is still alive or this is just a rat. But yeah, this is it's just the same name. It's just the same name. I guess I should read news from Syria, but Ukraine is also interesting. Death penalty in Russia. Maybe that's interesting too. Yeah, it's a short news. Then I'm going to read something from Volodymyr Zelensky. December 10th. Home, Russia and former Soviet Union. Putin again rules out return of death penalty in Russia. Moscow is in fact seeking to relax its penal code even further, the president has said. Russia is not seeking to reintroduce capital punishment and will continue to liberalize its penal code in order to reduce the number of convicts. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said. Putin made the remarks on Thursday while speaking during a meeting on the Presidential Council for Civil Society and Human Rights, a consultative body tasked with assisting the country's leader in protecting human rights and freedoms. Moscow's stance on the death penalty remains unchanged. Even in the wake of the Ukraine conflict, Putin reiterated, quote, "We live in the reality of a special military operation and do not introduce the death penalty at all, despite the fact that, I assure you, and you probably know this, a considerable number of our citizens and political figures constantly raise this issue," Putin stated. And there's a related news from Russian Orthodox Church. Russian Orthodox Church weighs in on death penalty. Despite the ongoing quite serious military action, the Russian government continues to make decisions to increase the humanness of our justice system, he added. In particular, Russia continues its effort to reduce the number of people incarcerated, Putin said. Russia introduced a moratorium on the death penalty back in 1997 when it joined the Council of Europe. The last execution in the country was carried out the previous year. However, capital punishment was never fully abolished. And various Russian politicians and public figures have suggested lifting the moratorium. Talk on bringing back the death penalty was reinvigorated last year in the wake of Russia's withdrawal from the Council of Europe. Moscow said the organization had been hijacked by the collective West to promote its interests rather than to serve its original goals. Zelensky's right here. It's not Zelensky. Hey, Zelensky. I don't even know if this rat over here is a female rat, or I'm not sure if I should touch it. Maybe I will touch with a stick. Yeah. Not that bad. Beautiful corpse, but I guess I hope that my hawk, I don't know where he is. If I see this hawk, I'll definitely will wave this rat to, will show. Let's read really quickly. Russian Orthodox Church weighs in on death penalty. November 6th. Oh, this is just far away, too far away. Maybe not. Let's see this. No, this is 1 month ago. Forget about it. Forget about the Russian Orthodox Church. Let's keep reading Zelensky from 2 days ago. December 8th. Home World News. Zelensky rejects Trump's call for peace. What are you saying, Zelensky? Zelensky, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth, stupid. You're dead now. Zelensky rejects Trump's call for peace. The conflict cannot simply end with a piece of paper and a few signatures, the Ukrainian leader has said. And there's a photograph. French President Emmanuel Macron, US President Donald Trump, and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky during the meeting in Paris. As it's great that Russia today didn't say Zelensky's Ukrainian president, because Zelensky's term already done. Is already done. Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky has rejected a call by US President-elect Donald Trump for an immediate truce and peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, following a meeting between Trump, Zelensky, and French President Emmanuel Macron in Paris on Saturday. The US President-elect issued a lengthy post on his True social platform saying, quote, "There should be an immediate ceasefire and negotiations should begin to settle the Ukraine conflict. According to Trump, Ukraine would like to make a deal and stop the madness." However, Zelensky made it clear that this is not the case in a post published on X on Sunday, in which he said the conflict, quote, "cannot simply end with a piece of paper and a few signatures. Why not?" What a moron. Zelensky, shut your mouth, Zelensky. Shut your mouth. Trump was reluctant to meet Zelensky, Axios. Yeah, I'm going to read that too. He stressed that in the occupied territories of Ukraine, at least several million people remain, once again ruling out the possibility of Kiev making any territorial concessions to Moscow in exchange for peace. Quote, "It is precisely just such peace through strength that we discuss with all our partners, as well as the steps and guarantees needed for the people and the state attacked by Russia," Zelensky said. Trump has repeatedly claimed that he could end the Ukraine conflict within a day of returning to the White House, and has criticized the outgoing U.S. administration for spending too much on arming Kiev. According to earlier media reports, he may try to enforce a freeze of the conflict along the current battle lines, using U.S. aid to Kiev as leverage. Moscow has repeatedly said it considers a freeze of the conflict unacceptable. It has insisted that any settlement is only possible if Ukraine withdraws its forces from Russian territory, including the former Ukrainian regions, ensures the rights of its Russian-speaking population and adheres to neutrality. Trump advisor blasts Zelensky for disrespectful. Yeah, Zelensky is already done. Look this one from December 8 too. December 8, Home World News. Trump was reluctant to meet Zelensky, Axios. France's Emmanuel Macron reportedly worked for days to convince the US president-elect to meet the Ukrainian leader in person. And there's a photograph. Volodymyr Zelensky and Donald Trump leave after their meeting at the Élysée Palace in Paris. France on December 7, 2024. Oh, that red is crazy. There's too much wind as always. French President Emmanuel Macron had to persuade incoming US President Donald Trump to meet Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky during the weekend visits to Paris. Axios reported on Sunday, citing sources. Trump arrived in Paris on Saturday to attend the reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral, which was damaged in a fire in 2019. It marks Trump's first foreign trip since winning last month's U.S. election. The trilateral meeting between Trump, Macron, and Zelensky took place shortly after the reopening ceremony, and a source told Axios that Trump has initially been reluctant to meet with Zelensky and made the decision to go ahead with the meeting at the last moment. According to French media reports, the encounter lasted only about 45 minutes. None of the three men spoke to the press afterwards or revealed any specific details of the meeting. All three, however, later posted on social media, with Macron saying on X that the meeting was focused on the Ukraine conflict and, quote, common action for peace and security. Also on X, Zelensky described the talks as good and productive, thanking Trump for being resolute. He signaled that Kiev, Paris, and Washington, quote, want this war to end as soon as possible, and claimed that peace through strength is possible, without elaborating on that remark. Read more. Ukraine would like to make a deal with Russia, Trump. Posting on his true social platform. On Sunday, Trump called for an immediate ceasefire and negotiations between Moscow and Kiev, urging Russian President Vladimir Putin to act, and signaling that Zelensky and Ukraine would like to make a deal with Russia. He did not elaborate further on this comment. Trump has repeatedly claimed that he could end the Ukraine conflict within a day of returning to the White House, and has criticized the outgoing U.S. administration for spending too much on arming Kiev, according to earlier media reports. According to earlier media reports, he may try to enforce a freeze of the conflict along the current battle lines, using U.S. aid to Kiev as leverage. Moscow has repeatedly said it considers a freeze of the conflict unacceptable. It has insisted that any settlement is only possible if Ukraine withdraws its forces from Russian territory, including the former Ukrainian regions, ensures the rights of its Russian-speaking population, and adheres to neutrality. And the last one from Zelensky over there. Well done to you, Zelensky. You're red. December 8, 2024, Home World News. Trump advisor blasts Zelensky for disrespectful attire. At his meeting with the U.S. President-elect in Paris on Saturday, the Ukrainian leader wore a sweater and boots instead of a suit. Volodymyr Zelensky, Emmanuel Macron, and Donald Trump leave Élysée presidential palace. Volodymyr Zelensky, Emmanuel Macron, and Donald Trump leave Élysée presidential palace after their meeting in Paris, France on December 7. Donald Trump advisor Roger Stone has blasted Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky for the clothing he wore at a trilateral meeting with the incoming U.S. President and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron. Definitely, Zelensky is wearing urban clothes. The three held talks at the Élysée Palace in Paris on Saturday. On the sidelines of the reopening ceremony of the Notre Dame Palace Cathedral. According to media reports, the meeting was brief and lasted around 45 minutes, with Macron having to persuade Trump for days to agree to it. While both Macron and Trump wore formal suits, Zelensky wore a black sweatshirt with the emblem of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, slacks, a military-style jacket, and brown combat boots. While this was While this has become a signature style for the Ukrainian leaders, Stone found it offensive. I don't know who is Stone. Quote, he can afford a suit. He wrote a suit and tie to the World Economic Forum even, but can wear one to address a joint session of Congress or to meet the President-elect of the United States. Stone told the New York Post, adding that Zelensky's attire was disrespectful to the American people. Social media users have expressed similar grievances over Zelensky's fashion choices on X, with many posting comments such as, quote, Zelensky was too good to wear a suit to the Notre Dame, and, quote, next time you are in the presence of our president, show some respect and put on a suit. That was Jana My Bill. Several users offered to buy the Ukrainian leader formal clothing, while others lamented that, quote, after all the billions we have sent, Zelensky still can't afford a suit. One user noted that Zelensky was known for wear suits during his career as a comedian. Quote, Zelensky wear a suit. Being a country at war doesn't obligate you to a wardrobe of shirts for the rest of your life, another wrote. Trump was reluctant to meet Zelensky. Yeah. The details of the trilateral meeting have been vague. None of participants have spoken to the press following the talks, but later posted their impressions on social media. Macron said on X that the meeting was focused on the Ukraine conflict and the step to resolve it. While Zelensky described the talks as good and productive, Trump called for an immediate ceasefire and negotiations between Moscow and Kiev on his Truth Social account on Sunday, adding that Kiev, quote, would like to make a deal with Russia. He did not offer any details, however. So Zelensky is a bad rat. Zelensky is an informal rat. I guess I'm going to read something from Al Jazeera now. Well, my hawk never came. I will let this rat over there for my hawk. A hawk is around over here. So here we go. Al Jazeera. What's Al Jazeera is saying is saying about the end of Syria. Syria live updates. A day ago. Live update. Syria's new prime minister meets members of the former government to facilitate transition. Former regime Idlib government officials meet with Mohammed al-Bashir as a serious political transition begins. By Farah Najjar, Patrick Keddy. December 10, updated a day ago. Mohammed al-Bashir appointed Syria's new prime minister until March 1st, 2025. Until March 4th, 2025, has met with members of the country's former government to facilitate political transition. Israeli forces have carried out large-scale attacks across Syria, targeting 3 airports and other strategic military infrastructure, including the capital, Damascus. Earlier, toppled Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's Prime Minister Mohammad Ghassi al-Jalali agreed to hand power to the opposition-led Syrian Salvation Government, headed by al-Bashir. Renowned Syrian activist Mazen al-Mahada's family confirms his body has been found at the notorious Sednaya prison as rescue teams ended their search for missing people at the facility. Qatar, Iraq, and Saudi Arabia have condemned Israel's dangerous land grab in the Syrian Golan Heights as United Nations peacekeepers accused it of violating the 1974 ceasefire deal that ended the 1967 war. Tuesday, December 10th, 5 minutes ago, psychosocial support urgently needed amid Syria's decimated health sector. Psychosocial support. Years of war, neglect, and corruption have decimated Syria's healthcare system, which is crippled by shortages of staff and supplies. The president of the Syrian American Medical Society has told Al Jazeera. Well, this is not interesting for the global south. Mufaddal Hamadeh, speaking from Chicago in the United States, said that sanctions on Syria must be lifted and aid groups need to work with the new authorities to provide much needed support. Quote, they need to allow the new government to be able to find ways to rebuild their lives again, he said. Hamadeh said the biggest immediate health priority should be to provide psychosocial support, particularly for the thousands of prisoners who were released following the fall of al-Assad. Quote, we need to rehabilitate those prisoners and not only that, but deal with effects on society. For every prisoner that is released, there are to be thousands of families who are grieving today because their loved ones could not be found, or if they have died, their wounds have reopened again, he said. Quote, you have a lot of grieving and a lot of uncertainty of how to deal with the trauma that the Syrian people have endured for many years. I think that is the number one problem we have to address right now. 15 minutes ago, residents in Idlib, where opposition was based, say living conditions are improving. In Idlib, where Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, the group that led the Damascus takeover, established the Syrian Salvation Government, many are hopeful for a prosperous future under the new leadership. A displaced Syrian from the nearby, almost destroyed town of Ma'arad al-Numan says, quote, I've lived very well here. Quote, the Salvation Government is doing a very good job here. I have heard so many good things about al-Julani, Ahmed al-Shara, HTS leader. He brought security most people here believe that, unquote, he told Al Jazeera's Osama bin Javid. Muhammad Ali, a Syrian who returned from neighboring Turkey after years of displacement, says conditions in Idlib are better now. I came back from Turkey 2 years ago. Even a month ago, finding a job was challenging as planes were targeting us continuously, Ali told Al Jazeera. And there's new live update available. Quote, but it is better now. We are working in peace. Hopefully everything will be much better in Syria. I'm going to read the new update, and then I'm going to leave this live updates to read something from Pepe Escobar. A minute ago, more than 200 killed in fighting between pro-Turkish and Kurdish-led forces. Fighting between Turkish-backed and Turkish-led forces in northern Syria has killed 218 people in just 3 days. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights War Monitor was reported. The United Kingdom-based monitor said that at least 218 members of pro-Kurdish forces and pro-Ankara factions were killed during 3 days of fighting in and around Manbij, where Turkish-backed factions launched an offensive. Well, White House National Security spokesman John Kirby said on Thursday that the U.S. is, quote, not in a position to verify the exact operational status of Manbij amid reports that pro-Turkish rebels seized control of the city. And well, I'm going to read Pepe Escobar now. The Telegram. There is an article from Pepe Escobar, from Karlov something. And now Pepe Escobar's analysis from his today's column at the Cradle. But this is not the Cradle. I'm going to read it anyway. I watched Pepe talk with Judge Napolitano yesterday, along with the judge's other guests, where he touched on many of the points he makes in Syria's post-mortem terror, occupation and Palestine. Syria's post-mortem terror, occupation and Palestine. Published at the Cradle today, as more becomes known, the analysis can be further honed so some semblance of what actually occurred can be arrived at, which is my last two articles in their high number of comments proof in the concern of many people. Some GM readers are prevented from reading the Cradle, so in mirroring Pepe's articles as follows. The short headline defining the abrupt shift end of Syria as we knew it will be Eretz Israel meets New Ottomanism. The subtitle, a win-win for the West and a lethal blow against the axis of resistance. But to quote still pervasive American pop culture, perhaps the odds are not what they seem. Let's start with former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad's surrender. Qatari diplomats off the record maintain that Assad tried to negotiate a transfer of power with the armed opposition that had launched a major military offensive in the days prior, starting with Aleppo, then swiftly headed southward toward Hama, Homs aiming for Damascus. That's what was discussed in detail between Russia, Iran, and Turkey behind closed doors in Doha. this past weekend during the last side of the moribund Astana process to demilitarize Syria. The transfer of power negotiation failed. Hence, Assad was offered asylum by Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow. That explains why both Iran and Russia instantly changed the terminology while still in Doha and began to refer to the legitimate opposition in a bid to distinguish non-militant reformists from the armed extremists cutting a swath across the state. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, his body language telling everything about his anger, literally said, quote, Assad must negotiate with the legitimate opposition which is on the UN list. Very important, Lavrov did not mean Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, HTS, the Salafi Jihadi, or Rent a Jihadi mob financed by the Turkish National Intelligence Organization, MIT, with weapons founded by Qatar and fully supported by NATO and Tel Aviv. What happened after the funeral in Doha was quite murky, suggesting a Western Intel remote control coup, developing as fast as lightning, complete with reports of domestic betrayals. The original Astana idea was to keep Damascus safe and to have Ankara manage HTS. Yet Assad had already committed a serious strategic blunder, believing in lofty promises by NATO, managed through his Zelensky over there. Stay quiet, Zelensky. Message through his newfound Arab leader friends in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. To his own astonishment, according to Syrian and regional officials, Assad finally realized how fragile his own position was, having turned down military assistance from his stalwart regional allies, Iran and Hezbollah, believing that his new Arab allies might keep him safe. The Syrian Arab Army, SAA, was in shambles after 13 years of war and ruthless US sanctions. Logistics were prey to deplorable corruption. The rot was systematic, but importantly, while many were prepared to fight the foreign-baked terror groups, once again, insiders say Assad never fully deployed his army to counterattack the onslaught. Tehran and Moscow tried everything up to the last minute. In fact, Assad was already in deep trouble since his visit to Moscow on 29 November that reaped not tangible results. The Damascus enlightenment thus regarded Russia's insistence that Assad must abandon his previous red lines on negotiating a political settlement as a de facto signal pointing to the end. Turkey, quote, we have nothing to do with it. Apart from doing nothing to prevent the increasing atrophy and collapse of the SAA, Assad did nothing to rein in Israel, which has been bombing Syria non-stop for years. Until the very last moment, Tehran was willing to help. 2 brigades were ready to get into Syria, but it will take at least 2 weeks to deploy them. The FAR news agency explained the mechanism in detail, from the Syrian leadership's inexorable lack of motivation to fight the terror brigades, to Assad ignoring serious warnings from Syrian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei since June, all the way to 2 months ago, with other Iranian officials warning that HTS and its foreign backers were preparing a blitzkrieg, according to the Iranians. Just more 6 minutes, or yes, just more 7 minutes. Stay there, Zelensky. Quiet. After Aleppo fell, it became clear that Assad had no real intentions to stay in power, so we started to engage in diplomatic talks with the opposition and arranged the safe exit of our troops from Syria. If the SAA does not fight, neither will we risk our soldiers' lives. Russia and the UAE had managed to convince him to step down, so there was nothing we could do. There's no Russian confirmation that they convinced Assad to step down. One just needs to interpret that failed meeting in Moscow on 29 November. Yet significantly, there is confirmation before that about Turkey knowing everything about the HTS offensive as far back as 6 months ago. Ankara's version is predictably murky. HTS told them about it and asked them not to intervene. Additionally, the Turkish Foreign Ministry spun that President Khalif Recep Tayyip Erdogan tried to warn Assad. No word from Damascus on that. Ankara, on the record via Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan, formally denies orchestrating or approving the Renta jihadi offensive. They may regret this yet, with everyone from Washington to Tel Aviv jumping in to take credit for the fall of Damascus. Only the NATO propaganda machine believes this version, and HTS has been for years completely supported not only by Turkey but also covertly by Israel, which was outed for paying salaries to the extremists during the Syrian war, and famously helped rehabilitate Al-Qaeda fighters injured in battle. All that leads to the predominant scenario of a carefully calculated CIA MI6 Mossad-controlled demolition, complete with a non-stop weaponizing flow, Ukrainian training of Takfiris on the use of FPV kamikaze drones, and Samsonites full of cash bribing high-ranking Syrian officials. I have no time for the whole news. I'm going to, but it's been great. I guess it's what everybody thought about it. Everybody interested in the subject of geopolitics. Just more for 2 paragraphs. New great game reloaded. The Syrian collapse may be a classic case of extending Russia and also Iran. When it comes to all crucial land bridge that connects it with its allies in the Mediterranean, the Lebanese and Palestinian resistance movements, not to mention sending a message to China, which, for all its lofty, quote, community of a shared future rhetoric, had done absolutely nothing to help in the reconstruction of Syria. On the geoenergy level, now there are no more obstacles to the resolution of an epic pipeline saga, and one of the key reasons for the war on Syria, as I analyzed it 9 years ago, building the Qatar-Turkey gas pipeline through Syrian territory to provide Europe with an alternative to Russian gas. Assad has rejected that project, after which Doha helped found the Syrian war to depose him. There's no evidence that key Persian Gulf states such as Saudi Arabia and UAE will gleefully accept Qatar's geoeconomic stardom if the pipeline is built. For the starters, it needs to run through Saudi territory, and Riyadh may no longer be open to start to that. And well, that's it. And well, last comments in the end. Yeah, I don't know what to do with my life, you know. By this time, I'm just killing some rats from my apartment. Luna over there is curious about it. Tom is also curious. I'm going to put this rat over there in that tower because it's a high place. It's nice for my hawk. Sometimes a hawk comes here. Milou is making some friends, maybe imaginary friends. Yeah. I don't know where Milou is. Milou! Maybe Milou crossed the road, I don't know. But Milou is smart, you know. I guess Milou is not going to die. The rat is still there, yeah. So I'm going to have a big rock for that rat, similar weight, and I'm going to put that rat on this tower for the hawk. But I guess this hawk is just fly away to another place, you know. I guess he will not. Maybe we will see. We'll see if that hawk eat this rat.